first time I saw the monastery, it was at the end of a long, winding mountain trail. I had been walking for hours, the chill of the high-altitude air biting at my fingers and nose, the mist clinging to the trees like a damp veil. I remember standing there, looking up at the cluster of ancient wooden buildings nestled into the mountainside, feeling a mix of awe and trepidation. I had come searching for truth, or at least what I thought truth was. My life in the city felt shallow, like I was moving through it with no real understanding of what it all meant. I had heard of this monastery from an old traveler I met by chance, a man who spoke of enlightenment not as an abstract concept, but as something tangible, alive, something I could find if I was willing to give up everything. When I knocked on the heavy wooden doors, the sound echoed into the stillness. A monk answered, his face calm but unreadable, and led me wordlessly through the quiet courtyards. The air smelled of incense and wet earth. I didn't know what I expected to find, but the place was quieter than I'd imagined, as if even time had slowed to a crawl here. The master's question. The Zen master greeted me in a small room with bare wooden walls. His presence filled the space, though he said little at first. He watched me with sharp, penetrating eyes, as if he could see straight into the confusion and longing that had brought me here. "Why have you come?" he asked finally, his voice calm but firm. "I want to know the truth," I replied, surprising myself with the certainty in my voice. The master raised an eyebrow. "Do you want to know about the truth, or do you want to know the truth?" The question threw me off balance. "What's the difference?" I asked, genuinely confused. "If you want to know about the truth," he said, "I can give you books to read, scriptures to study. It's easier, safer. But if you want to know the truth, you may have to sacrifice your whole life, and even then, there are no guarantees." The weight of his words hung heavy in the air. For a moment I hesitated, but then something deep within me answered. "I want to know the absolute truth," I said. "Whatever it takes." The master nodded, as if he had been expecting my answer. "Then you will pound rice," he said simply. The long road to nowhere. At first, I didn't understand the task. Pound rice for 500 monks? It seemed like busy work, a distraction from the teachings I had come to learn. But the master's instructions were clear. Pound rice, speak to no one, and wait. The days were long and monotonous. I would wake before dawn, the cold biting at my skin, and begin the rhythmic, back-breaking work of pounding rice. My hands blistered, my shoulders ached, and my mind rebelled. What was I doing here? How could this possibly lead to enlightenment? The other monks barely acknowledged me. To them, I was just the new fool, the man who had come to pound rice for a life he would never understand. They whispered about me sometimes, their words just loud enough for me to hear. It stung at first, but over time I grew numb to their judgment. The disappearance of thought. For months my mind was a storm of memories, regrets, and doubts. I thought about my family, my old life, the friends I had left behind. But slowly the storm began to quiet. The repetitive rhythm of pounding rice became a kind of meditation, a tether to the present moment. My thoughts grew fainter, less urgent, and then, one day, they disappeared altogether. It was like stepping into a clear, silent lake after a lifetime of noise. The rice, the mortar, the wooden pestle, they were no longer separate from me. They were me. The work became the moment itself, complete and whole. 12 years later, by the time 12 years had passed, I had forgotten the man I used to be. I didn't think about enlightenment anymore. I didn't think about anything at all. The work was my world, and in it, I had found a peace I couldn't explain. When the master announced he was seeking a successor, it barely registered. The other monks, however, were abuzz with excitement. That night, The chief disciple wrote his lines on the master's door, confident in his learning and wisdom. His lines were, "Mind is like a mirror on which dust of thoughts and desires accumulates. This dust can be cleared by practicing meditation. One who has cleared this dust from the mirror has become self-realized." I didn't care about the competition, but when I heard what he had written, I laughed, not out of mockery, but out of a simple, unshakable truth. "That's not it," I said to the monks who questioned my laughter. They looked at me, the rice pounder they had dismissed for years, and scoffed. "Can you write something better?" one of them asked. "I can't write," I said, "but I can tell you what to write." Writing the truth. The monks agreed, more out of curiosity than belief. I dictated the words slowly, carefully, as they scratched them onto the wall. "Mind is nothing but an illusion. There is neither mind nor any mirror of mind. When the mind does not exist, where will the dust settle? He who knows this has known the truth." The next morning, the monastery was in uproar. The master, upon reading the words, demanded to know who had written them. When the monks pointed to me, he came to my quarters in the middle of the night. The master's visit. The master woke me gently, his face filled with a quiet reverence I had never seen before. He handed me his staff and robe, bowing slightly as he did. "You have become the next master," he said, his voice soft but firm. "You know the truth, not through books or teachings, but through your own experience. But you must leave this monastery. The others will not accept you. They still see you as the rice pounder." His words were both a blessing and a farewell. I left the monastery at dawn, my heart heavy with gratitude and a strange, serene joy. A new path. As I descended the mountain, the sun began to rise, its golden light spilling across the valleys, and painting the world in hues so vivid they felt almost unreal. I paused for a moment, looking out at the landscape, and for the first time in my life, I truly saw it. The trees were no longer just trees, the sky no longer just sky. Everything was alive, radiant with a quiet energy that had always been there, though I had never noticed. It wasn't just the world around me, it was the world within me too. The boundaries I had once believed in, the distinctions between self and other, real and imagined, had dissolved like mist under the morning sun. I remembered the master's words, "Empty your mind, see the world like a child sees it, with curiosity and excitement, unclouded by conditioning or distortion." I looked down at the path beneath my feet, at the dewdrops clinging to the grass, each one a perfect sphere, catching the light and refracting it into tiny rainbows. I felt the rough texture of the staff in my hand, the weight of the robe on my shoulders. Every sensation, every detail was so sharp, so immediate, that it filled me with an overwhelming sense of gratitude. The realization hit me then. This was it. This was the truth I had been searching for, the truth I had found not in some grand revelation, but in the simple act of pounding rice. It wasn't something to be grasped or understood. It was something to be experienced over and over in every moment.